Been a couple of years since we've talked about the great sport of judo on Off the Podium, and I'm so excited today to return to it with an athlete who is worthy of talking about, because in basically just over a week's time, she is set to appear at her third Olympic Games and going into these Olympics in some great form. She's a 5-time Oceanic champ, 3-time Pan American Oceanic champ, a 2-time IJF Grand Prix winner, and the very first to ever come from Australia, if you don't mind, a Commonwealth Games bronze medalist, and currently the 5th in the world in her category in the 63 kilo in judo. And I'm so excited to learn about her journey in the sport and Paris hopes. Pleasure to welcome to the show, Katharina Haecker. Katharina, first of all, welcome to Off the Podium.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
It's great to have you here. I'm kind of ashamed when we have a sport that we've not really talked to many athletes on. And as I said, it's been a little bit more than 2 years since we've had an athlete from judo on the show. So always exciting to return to it. And just going through that resume, Katharina, I mean, absolutely incredibly stacked resume. And I just want to say this right now. I feel more if people in Australia need to know about you, because this is an incredible resume that if this was in any other sport, we'd be talking more about it. Why don't we talk about judo that much in Australia, Katharina, and how can we change it?
Good question. We talk about this all the time because, we feel that, it's not talked about enough. We got some great athletes, starting with Maria Pickley, who won a bronze medal in Sydney for Australia. But, it's like a very niche sport, so it's not very well known. It's just not an Australian thing, I guess. So that's the main reason.
Until you leave Paris with that gold around your neck, which obviously we'll touch on. It's interesting you mentioned Maria there. I was going to bring her up in the chat, but I remember watching Sydney, and I remember when she won that medal, because it was kind of one of those ones where, just on that topic of it's not a sport that gets talked about in this country much. When we won that medal back in Sydney, it's like, oh wow, we just won a medal in judo. Like, this is something new. So, I mean, just on Maria, like, how big of a deal did that sort of add to judo? Are you aware of did that see an uptake of young girls, young boys getting into the sport, anything along those lines after Sydney?
I'm not quite sure. Like, I wasn't in Australia at that time. Like, as you know, probably I was born in Germany. So I watched those games not here. I watched it back in Hamburg. So I didn't really know Maria at that time. Also, I was quite young. I would say right now we can actually see a lot of young athletes coming in the sport. Are very excited about Eve and myself. So I think we both actually have a really positive impact on the judo community, especially on the girls, like being role models for them. It's so good. We just had nationals on the weekend, and we're taking lots of pictures with young girls, young boys as well. But getting this feedback is it's incredible. It's I'm very honored.
Fantastic. And Maria, obviously highly esteemed, I can imagine, in the judo world in Australia.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she has a role in the high performance lead. So she's making sure that we're pushing forward, doing the right things. So it's Fantastic. Great to have her around.
Great. Good to hear that. You mentioned you were born in Germany to an Australian father, if I'm not mistaken, German mother.
Yeah.
How do you get involved in judo growing up in Germany? And also on that, what's judo like in Germany? Is it a big deal? Is it kind of a sport that a lot of Germans do take part in?
I would say it's a little bit more well known in Germany. It's definitely a kid sport. When you go around, it's oh yeah, when I was a kid I did judo. Lots of people keep saying that. Most people don't really stick around. But yeah, it's a little bit bigger, I would say, than here in Australia. But not that much different. It's also a niche sport. People don't. It's not that many people who do it.
It's one of those ones I feel that, I mean, I look at sort of a lot of the combat sports, and when you're younger, that kind of there's a few different ones that you get involved. I remember as a child, karate sort of randomly was sold to me at some point. So I did karate for 5 minutes. I didn't really stick to it, clearly. I didn't go to Tokyo in the Olympics or anything like that, so it wasn't really for me. But I knew other kids at school who, I did know a couple of kids who do judo. There were some people who did taekwondo. Like it's sort of those combat sports where people do that. Was that a case sort of in Germany, and is it a case in Australia where, you know, if people are getting involved in these sports, they kind of just stick with one, if you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm doing judo, I'm doing karate, similar to what I was saying. And or is there a lot of transition? Like, do judo people attract taekwondo athletes and, you know, karate athletes to come across to the dark side or the light side, maybe?
I'm not sure about that. Like the club system in Germany works a bit differently. So like you have clubs and they have so many different kind of sports. So you kind of switch around a little bit. Like when I was a kid, I was doing so many things. I was doing some swimming. I was playing soccer, like athletics, some gymnastics, and judo. Yeah, and then the end I just like stuck with it, like just judo. So I would say like, kids in Germany try out more different kind of sports because you're not really bound to it, and then they go with whatever they like the most. And sometimes it's more than one sport. Sometimes it's just one sport.
Did you have any other success in those other ones that you were sort of playing at that time? Could we be talking to you today, Katharina, as an Olympian in a different sport, perhaps, had you chosen one of those other sports to pursue instead of judo?
Oh, maybe. Like I loved soccer. Actually, it wasn't that bad, but it was pure point where I could actually achieve anything. Like I decided pretty early that I love judo and want to do that like kind of full time. So I like started training more and more in one sport and just like left everything else beside. I still love like kicking the ball around, like doing that, like sometimes warm up games. But yeah, I think for me, it was always judo.
I've got to ask to really date this episode. We're obviously recording this, you know, about a month out, but we're also sitting here on the eve of a certain football tournament about to start in Germany. And I've got to say I'm a massive German fanboy when it comes to both your men's and women's side. So are you going to be hooked to TV screens in between training to watch the Euros back home in the next couple of weeks?
I'm not sure if I actually do that to myself, like staying up so late, but I definitely catch some highlights. I'm actually more like a Matilda fan, to be honest.
We've converted you. Good.
Yeah. A long time ago, actually. Like, they're incredible. I just love watching them.
Fantastic. That's what we like to hear. That's what we want to do here in Australia. My love of Germany basically came growing up in the 90s when, you know, particularly obviously in our men's game, our men's team would never make the World Cup. And I had to choose a team. So I went with Germany. So I've stuck with them ever since. So I'll have a few early mornings in the coming weeks. Fun fact I found actually about you, Katharina, because I want to ask about, you know, did you have Olympic dreams? But you were born during the Barcelona Olympics. And I did my research. You were born on the day that Kieran Perkins won the 1,500 metres swimming. And as an Australian, that is a big deal that was that day on the 31st of July, 1992. So I'm kind of like the Olympics is almost in your blood. You were born during the middle of an Olympics. So was this something that kind of always was meant to be? You were meant to be an Olympian?
Maybe. I actually never thought about that, like, honestly.
I thought it was a fact. It was a fact in one of your bios. It was like born during the Barcelona Olympics. So I'm like, I had to find out. Was she born on a day when a famous gold medal won? And there you go, Kieran Perkins. If you ever meet him, you can say, hey, I was born the day you won your first Olympic gold medal.
Oh, it's such a coincidence. Yeah, like I knew that like my birthday is like was during the Olympics in Barcelona, but like I never thought about like stuff like that.
It's a destiny.
It's funny.
Did you watch the Olympics sort of growing up? Was it a big sort of every 2 years, if you include the winters, something that was always in the household on TV?
Yeah, I would say like the Summer Olympics I always watched or tried to watch. Winter Olympics, not that much. Like I wasn't really like involved with any kind of winter sports or the Summer Olympics all the time, like watching all the judo, like were hooked to the TV. Yeah, not that much Winter Olympics, to be honest.
It's always one of those ones that I find, and I'm sure you find that in Australia, of course, too, that, you know, particularly here, it's one of those fringe ones where it's like, oh, yeah, the Winter Olympics are on and kind of see how that goes. You, I believe, though, I read that you kind of gave up judo, came to Australia, and then basically found your love again for judo when you came back. Now, correct me if I'm wrong with that, but I mean, tell me about sort of that journey when you came to Australia, fell in love with it here, and then kind of that, passion for judo seemingly got reignited again.
Yeah, half. It was, I stopped judo after I finished school. I always had the dream to come to Australia, just traveling around, getting to know the country. Like just getting to know where my dad is from. And straight away I fell in love with the country. I actually didn't want to leave when the time was up. I wasn't doing judo during that time. It was like nearly 10 months, I would say. But on the day I returned back to Hamburg, first thing I did was going back to training. Just kind of for fun, just enjoying it. Started to work with a new coach back home, who is now my husband.
I was going to say, who I believe you might be slightly connected to a little bit now.
Yeah, we are. Like it was just like fun for me. Like just I enjoyed training. We did some like local competitions just in Europe. I slowly got better, where I was at the point to like medaling again at European Cups. Didn't really do that before. Like when I was a cadet and junior, I wasn't very successful, to be honest. I wasn't on the national team or anything. I was in the state squad, but that's how I couldn't get any further. So that's why I actually decided to stop judo, because my goal was to go to the Olympics, but you can't go to the Olympics if you don't make the national team.
Yeah.
So for me, it seemed like it's out of reach. Being back after the break. Kind of falling in love with the sport again, just having fun with it, enjoying training, enjoying competing again. Not really having like a big goal in front of us. That was like the thing, I would say. And then I couldn't really do any other competition, so we couldn't level it up anymore, because you have to represent a country if you want to go further than the European Cups. Like the whole structure is a bit complicated to explain right now, but like the next one would be the World Cups, and like all countries have like small competitions, and those are called World Cups. Couldn't do those ones. Out of a joke, I was saying, I could just represent Australia, because we never really saw anyone from Australia overseas. And you're like, wait, what do you mean? Like, I got a second passport, and that's how the whole thing was kind of born. We got in contact with, I think it was actually Maria Pegley, and she just like kind of invited us to come over, or me, to fight some competitions. And then I became the number one in my weight category here. And then it was Commonwealth Games that year. So I kind of like got into this, like the whole preparation for it, and everything was like, so fast. It was like, you want to do this? You don't want to do this? I wanted. So
wow.
It was, everything was like born kind of a joke. Like we didn't actually meant to, like this wasn't meant to happen.
Wow, what an incredible story. Wow.
Yeah, it's a bit funny. Like looking back at it.
Had you even heard of the Commonwealth Games before you sort of, because I mean, obviously not a thing that Germany competes in.
No, to be honest, that's the first time I heard about it. And then being there and like realizing what big of a deal it is. And it was crazy, like being in Glasgow, 2014. It was such a great experience for me. Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's just crazy kind of how all of that comes about. I mean, not only do you fall in love with Australia on visiting here for the first time, you end up going on to sort of represent Australia so quickly. Whereabouts your father from in Australia?
He was born in Sydney. His parents are actually German as well.
Wow.
They moved to Australia. It was always the dream of my granddad to come here, build a life. So that's what they did. They just separated like soon after he was born. So his mom took him back to Germany, and then like he traveled around a little bit, like grew up most time in Germany and then part-time in Australia. So not a real Aussie, but still loves the country. They were actually here 2 years ago for a little bit of time. And yeah, he misses it a lot.
Wow, it's a beautiful thing about Australia, though, Katharina. I mean, what is a real Aussie? I mean, we're all. It doesn't matter where. Like, we're all Aussies, so that kind of that works out that way. It's interesting the Commonwealth Games experiences though, because judo is one of those sports that sort of pops up then disappears, pops up, disappears. Obviously, you go in 2014, you ultimately just miss out on a bronze, but then you can't go in 2018 at a home Commonwealth Games because judo's not there. But then it comes back again in 2022, where if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's been officially made a core sport now, so it has to be there. But, I mean, was that a strange experience to not be able to go to one and then go to another one? Like, kind of like, it seems odd that your sport sort of gets treated that way.
Yeah, like the host country has to pick the sport. And yeah, sometimes judo gets unlucky. If they don't, like, I understand, like, if the host country hasn't really anything to do with the sport, like they don't have many athletes representing their country, like why would you pick that sport? You would pick something you're really good in. Like I understand that. But yeah, like having the Com Games in Glasgow and then in Birmingham was good because they love judo. They're pretty good in judo as well. That's
what we want. That's what we want to kind of see it included there. And obviously, we wish we knew if we had a damn Commonwealth Games in a couple of years, if it's meant to be there, of course. But just on that experience in Birmingham, it's interesting. So I read that basically in your semi-final, because you went into that hot favourite, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I read there that you made a mistake that sort of cost you more going into the gold medal. Now, can you explain that, sort of what that was and kind of what prevented you from winning that match into the gold medal game?
Yeah, I ended up in a choke. I wasn't paying attention. Like, I thought she wants to turn me over on the ground, and then she straight away went to choke me.
Right.
And so my hands were not near my collar to prevent that. That was a silly mistake.
And then it's actually interesting. So that match was against Gemma Howe, who is the one judo athlete we've had on this show before. So it's sort of the battle of off the podium that was back in 2022. But you ultimately then go on to get the bronze. I mean, do you look back on that sort of experience at those Commonwealth Games, despite obviously the disappointment that came from that mistake in the semi? You seem like you've got very fond memories of sort of that, and you walk away with a bronze medal, though, at a major international event like that. Must be pretty proud up there on the rankings of all the things you've achieved?
You're definitely still a little bit disappointed, but looking back at the Birmingham Games, I think it's more like we had an incredible team effort there. We made so many medals, except of one person, everyone medaled. We got 2 gold medals, which is incredible. So the overall experience, I think, and the team effort, it doesn't matter. Like bronze, gold for me, like it's fine. I think the memory I got from those games is the team and how we represented our country.
Which that's, I guess, back to what we're saying at the very beginning. To give exposure to the sport in a country like Australia, it's important, right? Because eyes of Australia are on judo at an event like a Commonwealth Games. So therefore, winning medals ultimately helps by adding a few more eyes essentially to the sport.
Yeah, definitely. No, it was so good. Like everyone pretty much got away with a medal. We got 1 5th place, but 2 gold, so many bronze. It was amazing experience, and it's so good to be part of that.
When I love talking to athletes in sports where there are repechage, because as we discover on this show, there's complications in each sport, but generally you lose a bout. You want your person who beat you to win, right? Because generally that can further advance you in some sports, at least. When you lose a semi-final, right, and your person who beat you goes on to battle for the gold, is that the one time you kind of deep down going like, yeah, no, I don't want you to win. I'm annoyed that I lost to you. You can go on and win the silver. Or are you still part of you going like, no, I do want you to win the gold, because then I can say I ultimately got eliminated by the gold medalist?
I don't really think about that, because for me, like if I lose the semi, I still need to pull myself together to go on and fight for the bronze. So if I lose any concentration and think about someone else like fighting the gold medal, like there's no space to make any errors. So like I need to concentrate on my match, and like after whatever happens. I'm not really like that.
You've gotten your medal. That doesn't matter. The best person wins at the end of the day.
The best person will win. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just on that mental aspect of it, though, I read sort of a quote from you that you were touching on, that you didn't ever see yourself being naturally gifted at judo. Your love got you very far of it, but the mental pressure that you face with it took you a long time to be able to find your self-belief. But now you find that one of your strongest assets when it comes to judo. What do you do to work on that? What does a judoka use on that mental side of things to really prepare yourself for the pressures of a competition?
I think like everyone works a little bit different. I think I get my self-belief mostly from training and training well. And also like everything I've done before, like all those competitions and matches I had, like they're helping me like just to believe in myself, because I showed myself before that I can do it, I'm good enough and everything. So mostly I get my self-belief from all my experience.
Do you sort of work with a sports psych at all to kind of help you with those and kind of bottle those experiences that you're talking about, to kind of use it as like a bit of a weapon for you out there on the mat?
Yeah, definitely. I'm working with Emma from the VIS. Actually, after this.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're working on all different stuff, like small, big, like everything, what I need to compete at my best.
Is there much, I guess, psyching out in judo? Like, can you be on the mat and sort of, do some things to kind of get your opponent, get into their head a little bit? Or are you sort of too focused on your own kind of what you're preparing for in a bout to kind of do things like that?
I think it's a very respectful sport, but like if you do anything like it, I feel like I always like slip in concentration. And the thing is, like in judo, you make one mistake and the match could be over. So like risking your Olympic dream doing something silly, I don't think it's the smartest decision. I think you should always like concentrate on yourself, because like we've seen this before, like your Olympic dream of 4 years can be done in like 10 seconds if you make a mistake. And there's always so much pressure anyway.
It's always just with all these kind of, combat sports, that the way you say that, yeah, like it can be over just so quickly. And, we've talked to many athletes on this, the build up and everything that comes to it, and then just 10 seconds and it's done. It really is cruel. But just that first Olympics qualifying, that journey that you sort of went over there just on coming to Australia. You're off to a Commonwealth Games later that year, but obviously then a couple of years to prepare for Rio. What was that sort of journey like between the Commonwealth Games and Rio, and ultimately when you get chosen for the team? I mean, kind of you celebrate, go out, have a nice night out, or are you kind of like focus straight on the goal? Well, I've made it, now I've just got to go and achieve some more dreams at the Olympics?
So our qualification works for like 2 years. So it's quite a long process. You mostly know if you go well before, if it's not like very tied with the points. So I knew that I would go to the games a little bit before that already. So there wasn't like a big celebration or anything. And also like still like going to Rio, like if you would have told me that 2 years prior, like I was like, yeah, sure. Of course. Yeah, like not big celebration, but definitely was pretty exciting and pretty cool. I would have never thought I would go to any Olympics after I stopped judo for a while. And yeah, being in Paris, qualifying for Rio, was just, I would have never expected that. It wasn't meant to be, kind of.
I like that kind of slip of the tongue for Paris. It shows what you're focused on right now. And we'll obviously touch on that very, very quickly. But was there any moment sort of before you fought that it hit you that you had made the Olympics, like getting on the plane, if you did the opening ceremony, getting a uniform, seeing like any sort of moment where it kind of did hit you what you had achieved at that point?
No, the whole thing was like just like insane. Like getting there. There was another girl from like she was born in Australia, but her parents are like her background is Italian, and I think her mom is from Indonesia. So we both were based in Europe at that point and came together. From Europe. So we arrived together. Getting into the village, and like no one else of the team was there yet, so like we roomed together, we went to for all our stuff. It was such a exciting experience. Like it was crazy. We were so excited, we couldn't stop smiling. It was amazing.
Did you get involved in things like pin trading, spotting the athlete, things like that? Were you in the food hall, you know?
Yeah, I did all that. Rio was just like, it was outstanding. Like the whole thing was crazy to me.
Was there like a favorite pin? Like, was there like, what was a hot commodity pin, do you remember, at Rio that everybody was trying to get? Because there's always one, isn't there? There's always like one pin everybody's trying to get.
I think the Australian ones are actually always like hot favorite.
Good.
And then definitely the home ones, like the Brazilian ones, I think everyone wanted those ones.
Yep.
And then like when there are like some like small countries where they don't have that many, so try to get those ones.
It's so
but
like
I can't actually completely remember.
It's addicting too, isn't it? Because like I remember when I worked at the Commonwealth Games in 2018, and you get a couple and you're like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. But then by like the end of it, you're like, oh, my lanyard's not completely full, and I saw somebody had that countries and that pin was really cool. I need to get one. Like it's almost like you're addicted to it by the end.
Yeah. Yeah, you always need to make sure you have it like your own ones in your pocket so no one can actually see them. So like if someone's coming out who like you already have that, so you're like, oh sorry, I'm out.
I've already got like 10 of yours. I don't need any more or things like that. I mean the competition side of things, so ultimately out in the second round, do you set a target? Like for both of your Olympics, have you sort of gone, well, I want a medal, like I'm going to go all the way, or kind of was the first Olympics maybe a little bit different because it was your first Olympics?
The first Olympic, like I didn't really had any expectation. I just wanted to go out there, show my best, fight the best I can, and I think I actually did. I won my first round, and then the second one, I draw the Japanese, and I would say she completely I think she threw me every possible score. It wasn't the best fight for me.
Which, I mean, how do you, when you reflect on it now, like being 8 years later, and you can sort of almost laugh about it and sort of, wasn't a great fight, but like, does that mindset obviously changes over time, I can imagine. I can't imagine you sort of left Rio and just like, oh, well, next one, let's go to it. I mean, I'm sure there's like a level of disappointment that you've got to use as that fuel to kind of, I guess, go on to the success that you come, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I was super disappointed. So like, I knew I wasn't like at the level to medal or anything, but still you always want more. I think that's like you as an athlete, like if you want to be the best, like you always want more. Like, so after the Olympics, we pretty much went straight back to work, try to cancel out all the mistakes, getting better, getting in a position where I can medal on the world tour. And I think we actually did a pretty good job because in the next 4 years, I think I became quite good.
Well, I was going to say, the successes along the way definitely back that up, Katharina. I mean, 7th at the World Championships in 2018. In 2020 as well, you go on to win gold at the Tel Aviv IJF Grand Prix, which the first Australian to ever win a gold medal in that event. I mean, just that form that you kept going on throughout that. I mean, did that sort of lead you up into Tokyo and the confidence? And did that delay kind of, did it sort of withhold that comment? You're winning a gold in 2020. I mean, you kind of want the Olympics, I'm sure, to happen in 2020 for a bit of momentum, right?
Yeah, I think like I was one of those athletes who went like, oh no, why? Like I'm in such a good form. Like I feel really good, really good. And then soon after everything got a little bit more open. I picked up a quite serious knee injury, needed surgery. That's why going into those games in Tokyo 1 year later wasn't great for me. I kind of recovered just in time, but like I wasn't on a good form at that point. So I knew those games could have been great for me, but potentially are not the greatest games for me. Ended up not being perfect. I think that the first fight was all right. The second one, I again made a mistake. That was just on me. That had nothing to do with the knee injury itself. But I feel like I hadn't had the training load I needed to be confident again and trusting my body and my abilities.
So on that injury, did that happen sort of, had the Olympics gone ahead in 2020, hypothetically, not 2021, did that injury occur after when they were meant to be in 2020, or would you have missed? So it did happen after, right? Okay.
Yeah, it had happened actually at a camp soon after they opened up the borders in Europe again. So like we were in Europe at that time. And so we traveled a little bit around to do some like, it was still like COVID camp. So like you get tested, everything was pretty safe. But yeah, I picked up the injury in one of those camps. What great.
That achievement though, early in that year though, to become the first Australian to win at that level. I mean, what did that mean to you? And kind of just that you'd broken through for this, you know, obviously a groundbreaking win for Australian judo.
Yeah, like overall, I was just so proud of like myself and like everything we did as a team to get there. It was so good. Like hearing the national anthem at an IGF event, like we hadn't had that before, so it was such a special moment. I think not just for me, but like for the whole team and everyone who was watching. So I was just like very proud.
And on that, you beat, if I'm not mistaken, the current world number one from Canada, Katharina there. So not bad on the resume. And then you also back it up 2 years later, win another gold, but this time in Perth at home. Was that a little bit more special to kind of get a gold again, but also do it in front of a home crowd?
Yeah, it's like that wasn't a kind of Rio Grand Prix though. It was more a World Cup because they took away the Oceania Championships for us, so they replaced our World Cup with Grand Prix points.
Right.
So it was kind of Grand Prix, but not really. But like winning on home soil, it's so good. Like no, it's great. My parents actually came over, watched me, so that was extra special.
Fantastic. Good to hear that. Well, I mean, we count it as like, you know, if they want to take it away, change away the event, right? Like, come on, like, you know, that's on them, not us. We can establish it kind of as a one there with that one. Just quickly though, back on Tokyo, was there a level of, you talk about that initial disappointment back in Rio. Did the disappointment feel different in Tokyo, given that you talk about that injury and kind of things that kind of went into that? Or were you able to brush that one aside maybe a little bit sooner, knowing that there's only 3 years to go until Paris? Like, I don't know where I'm going with that question, Katharina. I guess I'm asking the disappointment levels, you know, were they different? Was it sort of, how did that feel compared to the disappointment of Rio?
Definitely different disappointment. Like I would say worse, because I was at the level to actually perform well and potentially make a medal, because people who medaled there, like I've beaten them before, beaten lots of people who were like went pretty well. So it was a different level of disappointment. Like in Rio, it was just disappointment in general that I'm not good enough at that point to make it further in the competition. And in Tokyo was more general disappointment of, this whole thing is not great.
But it seems
I was good enough, I could pull it off.
It seems though, Katharina, though, that once you have a disappointing Olympics, you then go on to great things. And that's only seemed to have been achieved now, what's happened since Tokyo, with everything sort of that you want to believe you won about 6 international medals in the last year alone, kind of in the lead up now to Paris. And as I said at the top, 5th in the world. So, I mean, do you kind of feel that disappointment really does spur you on to greater things? Because it just almost seems to push you further. Like as soon as disappointing Olympics, boom, I'm going to go out there and really show what I'm capable of.
Yeah, definitely. Like it definitely fueled me. But like I would have liked to have a medal, and I think that would have fueled me as well, but didn't happen. No, I'm always trying to improve myself, like pretty much every day, like striving for more, wanting more. But like the ultimate goal, definitely, since I'm on this journey, it's been a big medal, either like a world's medal, but prefer Olympic medal. So really looking forward to give it my all in Paris.
Which basically, as I said before, time of recording this, we're about a month out from the Olympics. But as of now, you're pretty much in Paris. If I'm doing my calculations correct, you've got to be, in the top certain amount, and you're very much in the top amount. So is this just a simple case of we just have to wait for a rubber stamp on the ticket, and you've got to remain injury-free, and you will be at your third Olympics?
Yeah, pretty much. The qualification ends on the 22nd of June. So that's like the official date when it's over. But I can't fall out of the qualifying spots anymore. So it's a top 17 qualifying directly. Being number 5, I'm pretty safe in there. So it's just like, a matter of time for them to announce the official selection. And then, everything is set.
I was going to ask, I'm not trying to put the bad juju out there for you, Katharina, but for you to go from 5th to 17th, I'm seeing here based on points alone, you're more than 2,000 points ahead of 17th place. So, it's pretty hard to do, I can imagine.
Yeah,
not possible.
Yeah, it's not possible anymore. There's just like one small competition left, and the max points you can get is 100 if you win.
You're in.
And just one person can win.
There you go.
And also, like if all your slots are filled, you can't add any more points. So it's pretty much done.
Which you and I were talking a little bit off air about sort of the preparation. You head to Europe a little bit beforehand to get into that zone. I mean, what sort of is that training schedule like for you? Is it like 6 days on the mat, training, gym, competition, 1 day off, 7 days in a row? What's an Olympian's training schedule like a month before an Olympic Games?
We definitely taper a little bit, but there are going to be some hard weeks and some easier weeks in the lead up. So we're going to Spain first. I think pretty much everyone who is going to the games is going to be there. So it's pretty hard training, like high intensity. I would say we're not doing that many training rounds there, but like the intensity is going to be very high. So like 1 or 2 times a day. Definitely some gym work and conditioning, just around that, but concentrating mainly on the judo part. And from there, we're going into like a lighter week. I think we are based in Denmark, being like very friendly with the Danish team. They have lots of girls around our weight category, which is very good. And Copenhagen is also a very nice city, so looking forward to spend some time there. I will love the team. They're such great people.
Great.
And from there we're going to Hungary. There's another camp. It's actually a junior camp, but for us, like having some exposure to different people, just like fine tuning, getting some more good rounds in. That's like the main focus. And then we got some days in Budapest, just relaxing. And then pretty much we're off to go into the village, just having somewhat training sessions among us, getting ready, cutting the weight, and it's go time.
And I believe your competition is on that first Tuesday, so obviously a couple of days into it. Does that allow you to do the opening ceremony? Is that kind of on the agenda, or are you going to be too focused on the competition, given it's a little bit close to that?
No, I would love to do the opening ceremony. It's a few days out. So like hopefully we're able to do this. Not quite sure how it's going to work with the boat and everything, and if we can get off there or if you have to stay the whole time, then
Yeah.
I might reconsider it. But like, if it's somehow possible, I definitely would love to do that. I think it's always like an amazing experience. Tokyo was a little bit different because there was no crowd, but Rio was amazing. Like that was such a boost as well, like giving you so much energy. Like it was great.
Fantastic. How do you find sort of things like this, like interviews, bit more attention on you in the lead up to an Olympics that you're probably used to? Because we find that, some athletes from these sports where maybe, we're only sort of really looking at the sports at an Olympic year can really love it. They love sort of the opportunity to sell their sport, or some people obviously might not like it. They might sort of not like the pressure. So, I mean, Channel 9 are going to have a few more eyes on you in the lead up to this, and other media outlets. Do you like it? Do you not like it?
I would love not talking about myself. Like I would love to like put the sport and the spotlight. I don't really like as a person the attention, so I'm not loving it. I think it's necessary for the sport, definitely. Like if I can do something good for judo, 100% always gonna do it. But like, yeah, I'm not loving attention for myself.
It's going to make these closing questions extra fun in just a moment, Katharina. But I mean, just on that, like obviously you touched on there, the goal is for an Olympic medal. Rather than focusing on what it would mean to you, how big of a deal do you think that would be for Australia? Back to what we were talking before about Sydney, we're only 8 years now away from another home Olympics in Brisbane, because outside, obviously, Maria, we've got to go back, 60 years, if I'm doing my maths correctly, to our first ever judo medal with Teodor Baronviskis. I'm absolutely butchering that, of course, in the open class. So obviously a bit of a difference in years when it comes to the medals. But I mean, for yourself, the sport, a medal, judo, I mean, that would surely just be an absolutely huge thing for the sport in this country.
Oh, it would be amazing. I think for this Olympics, we actually have the chance to get two medals, potentially three, where three people qualified. So, but like, I would consider myself as a medal chance, and definitely Aoife as a medal chance as well. Like, she performed so well the last few years, like, and really put herself in a position to be able to win a medal at the Olympics. So. And we got our third person now. It's Josh Katz. He's fighting 60s, so he's going to be on the first day. Great. And like he beat some pretty good people as well. So like potentially 3 medals. Amazing.
You're saying it could rain. Like when it rains, it pours, basically. Yeah. Not only are we breaking a 24-year drought, we're just going to triple our medal count basically from our 100-odd years of Olympic history.
Yeah, it would be yeah, I don't even have words for it. Like, yeah, it would be a dream come true.
Yeah, I mean, it's as I said, going back all the way back to Sydney, and sort of having that moment where you're kind of like, oh, we just won a medal in judo, like it's kind of like that. So I mean, obviously, it would be fantastic to be able to see that and kind of have that. And does that mean then you've got a bit more family being able to attend for this one, Katharina? Obviously none in Tokyo, but ultimately from Australia, but Germany, kind of close to France. So do you kind of have some, family popping over the border to also kind of check you out there in Paris?
Yeah, I got some people there. My 2 best friends are actually coming as well.
Great.
So I hooked them up with tickets. It's amazing that they're coming as well, being part of that. They always supported me so much. And yeah, my parents are coming. My husband's parents are coming. So there are a few people in the crowd cheering for me. Just Team Haecker going on there, basically cheering in the crowd. We like to hear that. I'm going to introduce you to somebody quickly that can be another Team Haecker. This is Chairy. This is our show mascot, Katharina. I'm wondering, A, inspirational, and B, how would Chairy go in judo? He's got a lot of limbs, so I don't know if that would help or hamper him. I think it would help him, more help than in the ring, like having more legs, like getting into the pros. I think he would go well.
That's what we want to hear. We're trying to find out what sport is going to be like his niche, rather than just getting thrown across the room. We often get told by boxers they just want to sit on him, which I feel it can be used a little bit more than that. But, if the legs help, if the arms help, and he's got a gold ready to go. So there you go. So I'm glad that he can be of use and use him for inspiration when you're on that mat. Just think of him, all right? Think of him as you're going for the gold. That's what we want. Katharina, we wrap up every interview with a set of get-to-know-you questions. As always, these were given to Team Canada athletes ahead of their Olympics in both Rio and Pyeongchang. As always, if you want to draw, there's a drawing element. You don't have to. They asked their athletes to draw like a picture of themselves. They had a Canadian animal, an Australian animal. Are you a drawer? Do you enjoy drawing at all?
Not really. I'm pretty bad in drawing, I would say.
That's fine. It's completely optional. But if you're bored at all and on the way to training or something, you can do that. But we'll start off with your first question to you. Who is the greatest Olympian of all time?
For me, I would say Anna Meares.
Yes. Queen Anna. She needs to be answered more now that she's also your boss.
Yeah. No, she's amazing. Actually, like one of the things I remember from Rio is we're going into the elevator, just arrived. Elevator opens and she pops in and went like, "Hey girls, how are you?" Biggest smile.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God. It's like, yeah, I'm good.
Fantastic.
That was like one of the things I don't think I will ever forget. So
wow.
That's like a core memory of the Rio game for me.
I love that. One of my favorite images from Rio is her winning that bronze medal. I mean, of all the medals we won, like that was just such an iconic one. And it said she's your boss now. She's the chef de mission. So, she'll be there cheering you on and everything. So what a great story that one is. You kind of touched on before that you grew up watching the Olympics. What do you remember the first Olympics? Was it Sydney that you remember watching as a child?
No, it would be Athens, I think. Yvonne Bunisch, German athlete, winning the games. That's like the core memory and like pretty much the reason why I wanted to go to the Olympics and
great.
Win the gold medal.
Fantastic. What would it be like if you make the gold medal bout in Paris and you're up against a German athlete? How'd you feel?
There's actually no German athlete qualified.
Okay, well, you're safe then. All right, okay. We don't have to cross that bridge then. All right, scrap that off the list. Phil, all right. If you could be any superhero, who would you be?
Superhero? Oh, never thought about that. Probably Wonder Woman or something.
Yes. Good answer. I like it. We always want to be Wonder Woman. Even I want to be Wonder Woman. It doesn't matter what gender you want to be. Wonder Woman's cool. Your favorite ice cream flavor is?
Salted caramel and white chocolate.
Oh, see, I love it when
I know it's very specific.
But I love that, Katharina. I love it when somebody doesn't even hesitate and they just know. They know. And that's good answer. Yum. That sounds really good. Do you find, I was having a conversation with somebody recently, salted caramel has kind of lost its meaning, do you not think? Because a lot of people advertise salted caramel and it's not salted anymore. Like, it's hard to find real salted, that real salty caramel, right? Like,
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, come on, companies. Like, you sold us on salted caramel. We want salted caramel. Now, I don't know if you actually are allowed to have music when you walk up onto the mat, but if you were a baseball player, what would your walk-up music be?
My walk-up music, I actually listen quite a bit to German rap.
Oh, okay. Can't say I've ever really listened to German rap, Katharina. So
that's okay. Maybe give it a go.
Maybe I will. I'm actually going to be visiting Germany for a few days after the Olympics, so perhaps I need to get ready for it and kind of do that. Are you allowed to have music? Like in some competitions, can you have music as you walk up to the mat?
Not walking up to the mat, but like if you're in the races, you can still. Most of the competition you can still listen to music. If you're not next up, they mostly make you take off your shoes and everything or slippers and take the music away so that you're actually ready to go. Okay. But until then, you're pretty much free to do whatever you want.
I'm intrigued now about German rap. This is as soon as I finish this interview, I'm looking this up. What's the best nickname you've ever been called?
Oh, nickname? Not sure.
Can we come up with one if you don't have one? I don't know. What is does judo kind of have almost like wrestling names? Can you be the haymaker? I don't know. I'm trying to come up with that's a really bad one. Ignore that. But
I will.
Yeah, please do. Often, I don't often say people to ignore things on this show, but that one, we'll just ignore that ever happened. In a movie about your life, who would play you, Katharina?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Put her on the spot.
yeah.
Who's your favourite actress? Who would you like to see, play you?
I'm so bad with names, actually.
We can move on if you can't come up with one.
Yeah, I don't really know.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I went from being ignored to stumping an athlete. That's good. I like that. If you weren't an athlete, what would you be?
Oh, probably still an athlete. Some other sport.
Some other sport.
I love sport. I would actually if I would have grown up here, I think I would play some AFL maybe.
Oh, yes.
Or stick with soccer, being
You'd
one
be
of
Matilda.
the Matildas.
You'd be a
That would be
Matilda.
pretty cool.
There you go. Do you have an AFL team at all?
No, I'm actually not really watching. I just we play touch a lot for warm up, so not as rough. But yeah, I love that.
Good. Last question for you today, Katharina. Your guilty pleasure snack is?
Probably the ice cream.
Yes. Oh,
I love ice cream.
yeah.
Salted caramel, white chocolate. My favorite. But I love chocolate as well.
Great answer.
I got a big sweet tooth, so keep snacks away.
Well, I was going to say, does that help though if you're ever underweight and you've got to get to your weight? You're like, yes, I can get some ice cream into me. You've got to put on some pounds.
I would tell you if that ever happens, but
with the gold medal around your neck. Katharina, before we let you go, people want to follow the journey, social media, Instagram, TikTok, anything along those lines. Can people follow you between now and Paris?
Yeah, Instagram. I don't really do the TikTok. I think I'm a little too old for this to jump on this.
I'm older than you, Katharina, and we just got on board with it. You're never too old. Andrew Hoy's in his 60s and he's doing it, so you never know. You can do that.
So much effort.
Yeah, too much effort. We'll tag your Instagram page in this and people can follow you, but we sincerely wish you all the best of luck. Obviously,
Thank
at
you.
the time of recording this, we know you're going to be on that plane. You're going to be there, and we'll get you back on after Paris with a nice shiny piece of gold medal bling around your neck to celebrate.
Would love that.